We are going to be giving feedback from both observation pieces that we saw, both in class and the planning session that we saw after the lesson. And we're going to go through 4 rounds. I want to remind you, you always have, I know you all know this, but you always have the opportunity to pass. I will come back to you and give you another opportunity, and I'll always let you know when it's going to be the last round. So if you have And the first round is about coaching moves and other evidence that we saw. So we're going to be thinking about anything that we saw, we heard, we noticed. Those are the stems that we'll use. And that can be kids, Barb, Teresa, right? So teacher, coach, students, any or all.
I noticed when you were visiting with Barb after the lesson, you used clarifying value and uncovering possibility questions pretty much equally.
Hang on 1 second.
I too was kind of coding, clarifying value feedback, and I noticed that when it came to looking at the student work, I noticed that you asked more clarifying questions around things that you probably weren't. Writing instruction goes on when you're not in there all the time, and so just clarifying questions about maybe things that she had introduced to students, like the paragraph symbol versus now using the arrow, and that's what I noticed.
I heard a lot of anecdotal evidence during the conversation from both you and the teacher that you had collected while the students were working.
I noticed when it was it was in the debriefing, but when you said if we go back to the goal, and it was looking at interesting words and adding in that extra piece, then I noticed Barb reflecting on, oh, that's another piece I could add in there. So her thinking changed a little bit after you brought in that questioning piece.
Going off Vanessa's, I heard you remind her what the goal was, because she kind of got maybe a little nervous, but you said, remember, we were gonna go on to word choice, we're gonna do this, and she said, oh yeah, I remember that.
I noticed you just being very honest and even vulnerable with her when you said, help me clarify my own misconception about what was going on, and that was just a moment of true collaboration between the two of you, that it was an equal exchange.
I heard Barb say she's excited about the work that the students are doing and they're noticing.
I think I noticed that you did go back to the goal. What supported the goal? I noticed the words like variety, next strategy.
Pass.
Well, I noticed in the classroom when we were watching just the very specific parts of the gradual release within the lesson, and you can almost define where one point went to the next, and I also wondered if that wasn't a part of the coaching that went in within them. So.
Now we're going to take it to the next level of depth and start getting into that so what, right? We put all this evidence out on the table of literally what was there, what happened, and now we're gonna start to think about it a little more deeply and say, so what does it all mean, right? So, as you guys may remember, an easy stem, if you choose to use it to kind of help you formulate it, is like because then, or since this, then that. However, don't feel limited by that. If you just wanna say this happened, so that happened. It can be connecting in the past, or it can be, because this happened, then that was able to happen, or it can be looking into the future and inferring, because this happened, that will be able to happen. And it can be, about kind of coaching as it relates to teaching. It can be about the work that Teresa and Barb have done as it relates to what students are able to achieve. Any of those connections from this to that and what it means for learning. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So when you're ready.
So, because you and Barb have been working closely together and you've been in the classroom, the students are real comfortable with you asking them questions as well as the teacher. It's like the co-teaching was successful.
Because you and Barb have obviously a trusting relationship with each other, and it's not uncommon for you to be in the room with her, you were able to interject the clarifying information for the students without it being an obstruction to the lesson, with it just being a part of the lesson, not this odd, as it could be if you didn't have that relationship and routine with her and her students.
Because of your thoughtful questioning and your probing with things, Barb has a plan for direction for tomorrow with those students and how to differentiate it.
Because of the language, the terminology the kids use, and the teacher, going back to the goal that students are mindful of what they need to do to edit, the goal was met.
Just to piggyback up Jane's a little bit, because that's what I was thinking. Because you and Barb were so intentional about which strategies you were employing into the classroom, it felt as though those students, many of them, were displaying that independently, plus even extending that by listening to their responses in the Shanice room. This goes with these cases, but when I went down to talk to Barb today, there was other teachers, she was explaining sort of the process that she was going through, so I'm wondering from this experience, what other teachers will be interested in going through this.
Let's go around one more time if you have any last questions.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
Mine's kind of not on the big scale of coaching, but I was just wondering how, I guess it kind of is, how her learning in this coaching cycle will impact the way that she begins writing next year with students, because even some of the little variances in that the one student had been introduced to the paragraph symbol versus the arrow, you know what I mean? Like, how will that shape what she does at the very beginning, from the start, from here on out?
I'm wondering about the start of the coaching cycle using a text like that you were learning. Did you read through the text before starting then working together in coaching? Did you do it along the way? So just kind of the structure of how that all worked with a text that was unfamiliar.
And I'm thinking from my own perspective, the sustainability piece, to keep this just going, a natural kind of process that we do, a culture almost, how we keep that moving.
I think it went well. I think Barb and I still have some work to do in some areas. Maybe within our roles and co-teaching, and I think that will come in time. I think it's just more work that we need to do together.
I was thinking, I think taking the learning from yesterday and then seeing it kind of in action today with Teresa and Barb, just getting better at making sure that I'm hitting all of those different areas of like the clarifying, the valuing, and the uncovering possibilities in those conversations that I have with teachers, because first of all, I think it feels kind of awkward sometimes for me, so just doing it more will help with that. But I also think sometimes I skip pieces that maybe I shouldn't. And so I think just moving forward, just being very aware of that and trying to figure out a way, something maybe similar to what you do, a way of making sure that I'm covering all the things that I need to.
And hopefully some of those stems and the kind of stuff from yesterday will help. I think sometimes it comes naturally, and I know for myself, we were just talking about this on the way here this morning, like I gotta practice it and kind of plan out, okay, make sure I'm taking time for this, make sure I'm taking time to value, make sure,
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Ditto, and ditto, and ditto.
It's hard to be at this spot.
Yeah.
Mine will be as simple as purchasing that book, because I don't know if you guys recall, when I did my little thing, we came up with our own little rainbow writing and struggled with some of these exact same things. And I can see it working across grade levels. So that's my next.
Great. Kevin?
Well, from my perspective, it's, comes back to sustainability. I believe Jean mentioned it. If we're doing purposeful work and it's good work and it's the right work, then I need to make sure that we are providing some sort of momentum to keep it going.
I have spoken to Kathy a lot, and that I would like her to come in more frequently, and have that one-on-one time together where she watches me coach and questions me through that process the same way I would question somebody else, so that we both get the support that we need, so that she gets that opportunity to come in and view. But I also get the benefit of, I have found in questioning other teachers, I have learned so much. So I want her to sit and ask me those same questions and ask me about those things, and see how it deepens my own thinking, and see what it does for her as well. I think it would be a very beneficial relationship in doing this together more frequently next year.